You can use the internet browser of your choice, and that in itself shows how Sage Intacct provides greater visibility into projects because it's accessible anytime, anywhere with an internet connection and a browser. Once we log in, I am going to head over to a project dashboard. In this dashboard, I have insight at a glance in real time into what is happening with our projects. We have performance cards at the top here so that I can immediately see key information about my projects with visual indicators as to whether we are doing better or worse in comparison with previous periods or against budget. There are a number of reports on this project dashboard which give me visibility into financials around my project. For example, I have the project financials, including indirect costs at the top here. If I scroll down, I have another project financials report. In this report, I can see that I have billable projects as well as overhead projects. Billable projects are further split into implementation projects and customization projects. Right at the end, I can see my profit margin percentage, and I have a very nice conditional formatting rule here in order to be able to see clearly which projects are most profitable. Any figures that are in blue are drill down figures, so I can use those figures to drill down further. For example, here I can see all of the AR transactions related to this project, and I can drill down even further to see the source transaction. We also have easy access on this dashboard to approvals that we may have in the queue. So I could, for example, use this dashboard first thing in the morning to clear up my approval queue. One of the reports that I really like on this dashboard is the utilization report. Here we can see which of our human resources are being underutilized. Perhaps these have the capacity to take on additional projects. The last column over here shows a spark line, so I have a nice visual representation of this data. And I have conditional formatting in this report as well to highlight those underutilized resources in red. So now I'm going to move over into the project screen so that you can have a look at some of the projects that I have here. From here, I can see that projects can have children or sub-projects. This would be useful, for example, if 3 months after we've completed a project, we get a new contract for a customization of the initial project. We don't really want to build them together. Many of the fields related to projects are also user-defined. For example, the project status and the type field. We don't necessarily know what that means to you in your organization, so Sage Intacct doesn't dictate how you should use them. At the bottom here, I can also see that I have various templates. So templates can be created and used to create new projects so that certain information does not need to be repopulated. So I'm going to go into one of these projects. Here I can see basic information around my project. I also have the option to invoice this project with its parent if I'd like to do so. Further down on the page, I see various rules around who can enter time against this project. And as with many other pages in Sage Intacct, I have the collaborate feature at the bottom of the page here, and that allows for internal communication with team members. We can also attach documents and add links that are relevant to that communication. Going back up to the additional information. The progress section facilitates project billing according to project completion percentage. So I can enter an observed percentage completion, and I can automate billing based on that percentage. I can also see from this page what kind of billing I'm using. This will show us the different options available within Sage Intacct: time and material, fixed fee, or fixed fee with expenses. Here in the dimensions section, I see basically what are labels that can be tagged to transactions. These labels help to tell the story of each transaction. There are 11 that come standard with Sage Intacct, and additional dimensions can be purchased. Dimensional accounting is one of the aspects that feed the powerful reporting capabilities of Sage Intacct. And in order to get a more in-depth understanding of dimensions, please watch our video about dashboarding and reporting. Heading over into the Resources and Pricing tab. This tab highlights how Sage Intacct can allow you to scale and grow as your resource needs change, because you can do effective resource management. A resource can be an employee, a subcontractor, even a piece of equipment. Here you can see which resources have been allocated to this project already and at what rate. And additional resources can be assigned as required, which I will show you in a moment from the Task tab. Over here in my project summary, we can see important budget information. We can also see exactly where the project stands in terms of time spent as well as expense. This information is available to me at any time within Sage Intacct, so I can view it at any time and act accordingly. I don't have to wait until the end of the month or until we go over budget and it's too late for me to make proactive decisions. Heading over into the Task tab, I'm going to bring this into an edit mode so that we can see the information. Projects can be made up of tasks in order to ensure tighter control of the project. We can use tasks as milestones for billing purposes. So earlier on, we saw how we could use the percentage completion of the project for billing. And here we see that we can also, on the other hand, use a task as a milestone for billing. So after a particular milestone has been reached, automatic billing can take place. I can also see from here planned duration and estimated duration. So I may have planned to take a certain amount of time. I may realize as time goes on that that needs to change, and I can enter that here. These figures also pull through automatically from timesheets, these figures being actual and approved duration, as well as what is left. Now, resource scheduling allows us to designate resources for each project or task and record what their share of hours will be for the project. Let's see how that works. So over here at the bottom, I can see which resources have been designated for this particular project. I can see how much they were estimated to work, how much they've actually worked, and whether those hours have been approved in timesheets or not. Now, it may happen that I get close to the end of this project and I realize that in order to finish the project in time, I'm going to need additional resources. I can search here for resources. Let's say, for example, that I'd like to search among all my employees. And I've got user-defined skills or certifications. I'd like to choose somebody who speaks French. If I now apply that search, I have a list of available resources. I can see where they are. I can see who their managers are in case I need to communicate with their managers before assigning them. I see here that I have a number that have full capacity, so I'm going to choose one of those employees and apply the selection. I can also see information around the employees that are already designated to this particular project. So for example, if I do a search here, I can see how many hours are available to me with each of these resources. I can also see which days are perhaps company holidays, so I need to take that into account when I'm scheduling time for this project. Another wonderful feature for those of us who are visual thinkers is the Gantt chart. So I'm going to head over to the parent project in order to show that to you. This is a visual representation of my project and tasks, and this is just another way in which Sage Intacct provides full visibility into my project. Now let's address the day-to-day aspects that keep the project running. Sage Intacct has been designed to allow for employee resources to be able to update their timesheets from within the system. And this is great because it means that the information is central and doesn't have to be imported. So to enter a timesheet, I would go over to time and expenses and add my timesheet. From here, I'd be able to specify which project this timesheet is related to, which task within that project, whether my work is billable or not billable. I'd be able to enter in times here. And these times can be added up and multiplied by a particular rate. Notice as well that depending who I'm logged in as, there's certain information that is pre-populated. If I were to go ahead and click submit, this timesheet would then enter the approval workflow that has been set up according to the needs of this particular environment. If I am the person who has the authority to approve timesheets, I could go over to staff timesheets to see a list of timesheets that either need to be approved or have already been approved in the past. Now, when it comes to expenses, similar process. Depending on how the environment has been set up, employees can go ahead and enter expenses against a project. They can enter the type of expense, the amount, the payment type, the various dimensions that can be tagged against this particular expense, and then I can decide whether this expense is billable or not billable. Now, this is important because even non-billable expenses do need to be tracked in order to figure out what the profitability of the project is, whether or not I am going to be billing that on to the customer. Expenses can also come from the accounts payable module, which is fully integrated. When I create a purchase invoice, I would just need to specify which project it is tagged to, similar to this field over here. The purchasing module is also fully integrated, so I can have visibility into the committed costs or purchase orders related to a project before even spending. Journal entries can also be tagged to a specific project, and we can specify there as well whether those journal entries are billable or not. Lastly, I'd like to show you how all of what I've shown you so far feeds into billing and where I would do my invoice run. So back to projects and to the screen where I will generate sales invoices. As previously mentioned, Sage Intacct provides various options when it comes to billing, time and materials, fixed fee, and fixed fee with expenses. I've also discussed how billing can be automated based on milestones or percentage completion. On this page, I can see that the system looks at the project, the status, and the billing type to decide whether to bill or not. I can also apply various filters when I get to this stage to decide which invoices I would like to run. Now, depending on setup, there also may be different revenue recognition configuration to the actual billing methodology. This could be due to IFRS 15 revenue recognition rules, or simply rules which you have applied within your own organization. For example, I may decide that I'm going to send an invoice to the customer after I've reached a particular milestone, but that I'd only like to recognize that revenue at the end of the period. So I'm going to select the correct date here, as well as a project. We can choose one that we saw earlier. And now I'm going to show you a powerful feature, the pre-bill report. The reason this is such a powerful feature is that it allows us to verify that the billing is correct before sending out invoices. This allows us to review and correct and gives visibility into the different information from the subsystems, such as timesheets or employee expenses, as I see in this example. I could also have figures in here from journals, from AP, or from purchasing. This simple feature can reduce our day sales outstanding because we wouldn't be wasting time on back and forth with clients trying to resolve billing errors. After I have run this pre-bill report and I agree with everything, I then have the option to go ahead and invoice. I can also print or email this report. Once again, if there are workflow approvals behind this, after I decide to do that bill run, it would fall into an approval workflow. So in review, we have seen how Sage Intacct's project to profit process provides visibility throughout the lifecycle of the project in enough detail to ascertain which projects are profitable and why, and then to make decisions accordingly. It provides automation to streamline the process, and it allows you to respond easily to growth, to invoice flexibly with different methods of billing and revenue recognition, and to incorporate resource management as you add new employees. Could what you've seen today improve the visibility, automation, and integration of projects within your environment? Please feel free to let us know.